The anime begins with a scene in an office where employees are preparing to go home, leaving one employee alone in the room. The man is confused about what to do if he goes home because he has no family waiting for him. After it gets late, the man walks home, crossing the street, but without realizing it, he gets hit and dies on the spot. In another place, a woman is seen carrying a baby. Several years later, the child grows up and lives in the forest. The boy is catching chickens and wild boars for food. The boy is named Shin Walford, and he is a magic user. With his magic, Shin can catch creatures in the forest. Shin lives with his grandfather, who also resides in the forest. Strangely, Shin still remembers his old memories from when he lived on Earth and was in a city in Japan, but he cannot remember how he died in that world. Shin returns home after his hunt, and his grandfather welcomes him back. His grandfather's name is Merlin Walford. Merlin found Shin in a demon carriage when he was still a baby. Merlin raised Shin alone. Shin feels that Merlin is a savior in his life. Merlin is an expert in using magic and teaches his knowledge to Shin, enabling Shin to easily perform anything with his powers. Merlin asks Shin to use fire elements to burn wood, so it turns into a fire and burns the wood completely. From afar, Shin sees the arrival of Grandma Melinda and also Michelle, which makes him happy. Merlin advises Shin not to focus solely on magic but also to try using magical equipment and practicing martial arts. Shin followed his grandfather's advice to learn. Melinda then approached Shin and Merlin at their home. Melinda was shocked to see Shin had managed to catch a wild boar alone. No 8-year-old should be able to capture such a wild animal. Merlin explained that the forest was like home to Shin, so Melinda didn't need to worry about him. Hearing this, Michelle was very excited to see Shin's actions and said that she would train him well. A few years later, Merlin invited Shin to hunt demons because he had turned 10 years old. Merlin and Shin gained hunting experience. Merlin explained that since they lived in a city of magic, all living creatures benefited from magic. If a magic user couldn't control it, it would destroy the area, damage the surroundings, and attack others. Merlin also taught techniques to detect the presence of demons. He emitted his magical aura to summon the demons. This technique could locate the demons' whereabouts. The technique was very difficult to use, especially for beginners. Merlin was very shocked because Shin was so overpowered and could summon his magical aura. Shin and Merlin found the demons and went to hunt them. Without hesitation, Shin attacked the demon with sword techniques and then killed it. Merlin was astonished to see Shin's heroic actions and recalled their first meeting. Shin then snapped Merlin out of his reverie and asked if his method of slaying the demon was correct. Merlin also praised Shin's toughness in facing the demon. Shin was very happy because he managed to defeat the demon. Upon arriving home, Merlin told Melinda and also Mitchell about Shin's rapid progress when slaughtering demons in the forest. Melinda asked who Shin was because despite being a child, he already possessed superpowers. Merlin didn't care where Shin came from because, to him, the child was his precious grandson. The next day, Shin trained with Michelle to master martial arts, and after the training, Merlin invited Shin to talk. Merlin then told the story of how he met and adopted Shin. Shin said he realized that Merlin wasn't his biological grandfather, but he was still very happy because Merlin was always there for him. Shin also didn't feel lonely because Melinda and Michelle were there with him. Merlin felt embarrassed listening to the child's chatter. Several years passed, and without realizing it, Shin was already 15 years old. Merlin's extended family held a birthday party for Shin, who had grown up. They asked what Shin would do next, and Shin was confused because he had never left the forest before. Merlin then invited Melinda and the others to see Shin's powers now. They then created a teleportation spell to take them elsewhere. Shin began his action using summoning magic and unleashed a tremendous explosion. The spectators were shocked to witness Shin's overpowering actions. Merlin's relatives worried about Shin's future if he couldn't control his powers. Mr. Dis said he would take Shin to study at the Magic Academy in his kingdom. Shin panicked and asked who Mr. Dis was. Mr. Dis introduced himself as King Dision, a friend of Merlin and Melinda's hero. Shin only then realized that he had been surrounded by great people all along. Merlin asked Shin if he wanted to go to school, and Shin enthusiastically said he would. After the meeting, it was decided that Shin would go to the capital with his grandparents. Upon their arrival in the city, the guards checked their identities and realized that the hero had arrived in the kingdom. The citizens were very enthusiastic to welcome the hero to Merlin City. Shin was invited by Merlin to go to his official residence in the kingdom. The servants welcomed the arrival of Merlin, Melinda, and the young Master Shin. Shin was then asked by his grandfather to take a stroll around the city since he had just arrived. Shin went to the market and bought apples. Along the way, Shin got lost and didn't know the way back. Shin then witnessed a scene of bullying in an alley by 3 big men who were harassing 2 women. Shin acted like a hero in broad daylight and confronted the big men, scaring them off. Shin then inquired about the well-being of the 2 beautiful ladies. He was mesmerized by the beauty of one of the women he had helped. After that, Shin got acquainted with the two adorable women named Maria and Cicely. Maria thought Shin was a student from the Night Magic Academy. It turned out they both wanted to enroll in the same magic academy. Maria was very excited to tell Shin about the arrival of Merlin and Melinda. Maria has admired them since childhood. Shin was puzzled by Maria's reaction to his grandparents, not recognizing them and seeming indifferent. He then bid farewell and returned home. Cicely liked the idea of love at first sight. Maria teased Cicely for being captivated by Shin's handsomeness. The exam arrived, and Shin saw a poster on the academy wall where a noble student named Kurd was bothering him while he was studying seriously. Shin reflexively threw Kurd down, causing him pain. Prince August intervened to stop the fight between the potential students. August asked Kurd not to provoke others at the academy. Shin recognized August as Mr. Dis' son and behaved casually towards him. Maria and Cicely were also present at the exam venue. The students then proceeded to take the written exam in one room. After that, they began the practical magic exam in another room. Shin saw the prospective magic students reciting magic spells, but their powers seemed weak. Shin was disappointed to see that the magic students had only average abilities. The exam supervisor then asked Shin to demonstrate his skills. The supervisor advised Shin to control his powers. Shin, without chanting a mantra, could destroy the target until the place exploded. Eventually, Shin passed because he was a multi-talented student. After being declared successful, Shin, along with August and other friends, took their uniforms and magical tools. The guard then asked Shin to prepare his best speech as the highest score in the school. Shin then asked August to give the speech because he was a prince. August friendly explained that the Magic Academy did not consider caste. The best grades came from the students' abilities, unrelated to the royal family. Shin returned to the dorm room and carried out his first mission. He removed the school's mantra effect on his uniform, created his mantra, and applied it to his magical school uniform. The next day, the school opening ceremony was held. Shin was escorted by Merlin and Melinda to the magic school. Melinda warned Shin not to show the power of his magical uniform to other students. The event began, and Shin was asked to give a speech to the first-year students. Maria and Cicely were surprised to learn that Shin was Merlin's grandson. After the welcoming event, Maria called Shin to meet with Cicely. Cicely told Shin that she was often harassed by men and asked for Shin's help. Shortly after, Kurd approached Cicely and scolded her for being close to other men. Shin got angry seeing Kurd's behavior, disrespecting women and intimidating Cicely. Kurd threatened Cicely that if she cancelled their engagement, he would overthrow his father's position. Then August intervened to resolve the dispute between Kurd and Shin. August warned Kurd not to abuse his father's position as a nobleman. Kurd left with a resentful face, vowing to settle the score with Shin. Shin then invited Cicely and others to visit his house. Shin introduced his friends to Merlin and Melinda. King Destined was also at Merlin's house. Shin told them about Cicely and Melinda's situation. Melinda tried to test Cicely and was firm with her. Cicely admitted that she had used Shin to protect herself. Melinda saw Cicely's honesty and agreed to help her. Shin then chanted his mantra on Cicely's school uniform. King Destined advised Shin not to reveal his magic to others because if the military knew Shin's power, he would become a threat to other countries. Shin told King Destined that he would control his power to not attract attention. Shin also cast a spell on the uniforms of August, Julius, and Thor for defense. Meanwhile, Maria did not want to use her magical powers and preferred to remain ordinary. Shin then told Cicely that he would escort her home to ensure her safety. Cicely felt bad about inconveniencing Shin. Shin then demonstrated Cicely teleport to create a gate, making it easy for them to reach their destination. He then invited his friends to visit the forest where he used to live using magic, and Shin and his friends arrived in the forest the next day. The next day, Shin went to pick up C and Maria for school. Upon arrival in the classroom, August teased Shin for being with two girls in the morning. Shin scolded August for knowing the reason behind it. Julius and Thor greeted Shin. Later, a woman named Alice entered the class late and began to panic, which didn't surprise the other classmates. The teacher then announced that he would take the students on a tour of the school. He explained that at the Magic Academy, students were required to join study groups, and there were various types of study groups available. Alice asked Shin which study group he would join, but Shin hadn't decided yet and seemed confused. August suggested that Shin should create his study group, a suggestion that Alice and others agreed with. The teacher mentioned the requirements for forming a study group. Once the students agreed, the teacher decided to become their study group supervisor. Alice proposed forming the Ultimate Magic Study Group, and August and the others supported her idea. Shin reluctantly accepted his friend's decision to make their own choices. The teacher officially established the Ultimate Magic Study Group starting today. Meanwhile, in King Destined's kingdom, he was in a meeting with ministers discussing the sudden appearance of demons. Dominic suspected human involvement, but King Destined denied it, saying humans wouldn't ally with demons. King Destined then ordered to contact demon hunters to investigate the case. Switching to Redberg's residence, Kurd's father summoned him and reprimanded his actions at the Magic Academy. Kurd objected to his noble status being demeaned and then fought his father like a possessed man filled with vengeance. Kurd's father slapped him to bring him to his senses and ordered the guards to confine him to his room. The next day at school, August discussed Kurd's absence with Shin and others. Shin asked his friends what happened to Kurd's behavior. Thor said that back when they were in junior high school, Kurd seemed like a good student and also friendly. Thor also noticed the change in Kurd since they went to Mr. Satrom's laboratory. Shin was surprised, wondering who this Mr. Satrom was. Thor then explained that Mr. Satrom was a teacher who had transferred from another magic school. Mr. Satrom admitted that he had been exiled from the Empire. After practicing at the Knights Academy of Magic, Mr. Satrom invited students with magical abilities to come to his laboratory. Returning to Redberg's residence, Mr. Satrom visited Kurd at his home. Kurd's mother begged the teacher to make Kurd cheerful again like before. Mr. Satrom then entered Kurd's room and greeted him, looking very pitiful. Mr. Satrom ordered Kurd to fight Shin for disturbing his life. It seemed that Mr. Satrom was only using Kurd as his experimental subject. Moving to the school, the students gathered in the school cafeteria to have lunch together with Shin and the others, discussing detection magic. If there were jealous looks or a killing aura, Shin could sense it because he had once hunted demons in the August forest. The others were shocked to hear about demon hunting. After having lunch together, Shin and the others walked in the school corridor. Shin detected a killer aura and searched for its source. It turned out to be Kurd, who was about to attack Shin and his friends. Kurd looked very ferocious and uncontrollable. Shin then asked August to take his friends away from the corridor. August asked Thor and Julius to report the incident to the school authorities. August, along with other friends, then left Shin with Kurd. Shin continued his heroic action to defeat Kurd, who was possessed by a demon. Shin sensed that Kurd was not fully possessed by the demon and wanted to free him, but it was beyond reason because Kurd's demon magic was embedded to explode him along with the school. It seemed impossible for Shin to save Kurd. The only way was to destroy Kurd because of the tremendous power he possessed. Shin slaughtered Kurd and ended his life to save the school. His friends were torn and uneasy after Shin sadistically slaughtered Kurd. Other friends who arrived saw Shin successfully defeating Kurd until his death. After the incident, Shin thought there was something suspicious about Kurds. August and the others approached Shin and asked what he was thinking. Shin revealed to his friends that while fighting Kurd, he sensed a demon that could speak residing in Kurd's body before he died. August was also surprised how a first-year student could possess such terrifying power. According to Shin, Kurds had been controlled by someone else who wanted to create artificial demons. Then Shin and his friends returned to school and saw King Destined there. Shin hadn't asked why King Destined was at school, and the king stated that he would award Shin for successfully defeating the demon yesterday. Shin was very surprised to hear that he would receive an award and also a medal from the Merlin Kingdom. Merlin didn't seem pleased because Destined involved Shin in the politics. Queen Melinda also opposed Destined's treatment of Shin, which awarded him. King Destined explained that he did it so that the public would know about the kingdom's heroic actions, and it wouldn't be possible to hide the fact of a hero who successfully defeated the demon because Destined's reasoning was reasonable. So Merlin and Melinda let it go. But they reminded him that if Destined broke his promise, Melinda would also leave the kingdom. King Destined said he would keep his promise to his two friends. The next day at school, the students scrambled to join the Ultimate Magic group led by Shin because of the incident of defeating the demon, making him very popular. The teacher held a test to enter the group to reduce the number of participants who wanted to join. They moved to King Destined's meeting room and his ministers. They discussed the recent incident at the magic school. King Destined told Dominic that a human had created an artificial demon, as an example, a Kurd, who had died due to someone's failed experiment. Dominic had suspected that the incident was related to the demons that had been emerging lately in King Destined City. So, King Destined asked Dominic and Denny's to collaborate to investigate the case. They moved to the magic learning room, where a new pair of students arrived, a boy named Mark and a girl named Olivia. Olivia is the daughter of the owner of the Brick Oven restaurant. Maria and Alice were very happy to have Olivia join their study group. Maria planned to celebrate the students at Brick Oven, and since Mark was the son of a blacksmith, Shin asked him to demonstrate his skills. Mark was not very confident because he wasn't so skilled. Shin said he wouldn't ask for something complicated, and when Mark made him a new sword, Mark agreed to Shin's request and would make a sword according to Shin's taste. Elsewhere, the Investigation Bureau began its action to find the real facts. They received a report that before Kurd left home, his junior high school teacher came to visit his room. Members of the Royal Investigation Bureau named Alt and Carlos visited Mr. Satrom's laboratory to start their investigation. Alt entered the laboratory and saw Mr. Satrom reciting his mantra. Alt was impressed that Mr. Satrom could make potions without seeing. Alt asked what happened to Mr. Satrome's eyes. Mr. Satrome told him that his eyes were attacked by his brother, so he couldn't see anymore. After that, Alt asked Mr. Satrome to cooperate with the Investigation Bureau to uncover the truth. Mr. Satrome said he was willing to cooperate with the Investigation Bureau. Next, Mr. Satrome followed Alt and Carlos to the investigation site. Alt deliberately took Mr. Satrome to the field to catch him. Alt asked why Mr. Satrome did that to Kurd. Mr. Satrome said he wanted to experiment. Alt was very angry to know the reason that Mr. Satrome used humans as his experimental tools. The royal forces surrounded Mr. Satrome to catch him, but they were powerless against him. The training room wall exploded, causing it to crack and collapse simultaneously. Shin and the others passed through that place and saw a very large explosion. Shin then entered the scene and saw the presence of Mr. Satrome. Alt asked Prince August to flee from the place and said that Satrome was the mastermind behind the artificial demon humans made by August, and Shin also knew that the man was Mr. Satrome. Shin was very angry and attacked Mr. Satrome until the barrier in his eyes broke. It turned out that Mr. Satrome was a red-eyed demon human. A fierce battle between Mr. Satrome's magic and Shin's magic ensued. Shin recited his ultimate magic spell and finally managed to hit Mr. Satrome. But unfortunately, Mr. Satrome managed to escape and they lost his trail. After a while, Dominic and his companion arrived at the scene and saw that Shin had finished fighting against Mr. Satrome. Dominic praised Shin's actions, the grandson of Merlin, the kingdom's hero. After the incident, Shin and his friends went to visit his father Mark's iron shop. On the way, August noticed a scene that seemed preoccupied. August asked what Shin was thinking. Shin told August that he believed Mr. Satrome was still alive and had managed to escape. Shin then observed the remnants of the explosion that occurred at the scene and proved that Mr. Satrome was still alive. August said Shin should immediately order his sword and the royal forces would always support him. Upon arriving at Mark's father's shop location, they saw Mark and Olivia together. Shin asked why Mark and Olivia were together on the second morning. Both of them wanted to know and began to act and interrogate Olivia. Olivia and Mark had long been lovers and they were always together. Mark then introduced his father to his friends. His father was surprised to see Prince August visiting their shop. August explained to Mark's father that his friend Shin wanted to make a sword. Mark's father said he would make a sword for his special guest. Shin then moved to the Blusvia Imperial Palace. The Blusvia king asked Ziz where he got the information about the Earlsealed Kingdom. Ziz explained to the king that he had intel in the Earlsealed Kingdom. The intel provided all the information about the chaos caused by the appearance of demons with cunning faces. The Blusvia king was determined to conquer the Earlsealed Kingdom. Back to Shin and the others, after ordering the sword at Mark's shop, Shin said he wanted to give Cicely some accessories. Cicely became emotional and nervous because it was too sudden. Shin wanted to propose to her. Cicely misunderstood Shin's intention of giving her the gift. Shin calmly explained that he wanted to buy accessories for her as a protective charm. Shin's friends were annoyed to see it because Shin was being playful with Cicely, who was already emotional. Shin felt guilty and asked Cicely to choose the accessories she liked. Cicely asked Shin to choose the accessories that suited her. Shin saw a beautiful ring and decided to buy it. Shin put the ring, which had been enchanted with a magic spell, on Cicely's finger, making the woman melt with happiness. The scene continues to the kingdom, where Shin is present to receive King Dision's award and enters the hall. King Dision presents a certificate to Shin for his services against demons and for protecting the students at the Magic Academy. After the event, Shin heads home. The next night, Shin intends to go to school with Cicely and Maria, but Shin's house is crowded with many new fans who want to meet the hero. Shin is troubled because it will be chaotic if he leaves the house. Shin then uses gate magic to directly connect to the school with Cicely and Maria. They arrive in class through the gate and see their friends already there. Yuri asks Shin what magic he used. Shin explains that the gate is a portal that connects two places. Yuri assumes that gate magic is similar to teleportation. Shin clarifies that the gate is more about moving from one place to another. Then Shin invites his study group to start magic defense training. Shin asks Maria to demonstrate her magic defense. Maria follows Shin's instructions and displays her magic defense. Shin sees that Maria's magic defense is very weak, so he asks Cicely to use magic accessories as her defense. Cicely does so and successfully creates 2 layers of protection. The students are surprised to see Cicely capable of creating 2 defenses at once. Now it's Shin's turn to demonstrate his overpowering magic defense, shocking his friends with his aura. Shin says he will train his friends to control their magic energy. The scene shifts to the kingdom where Satrome is being treated by Miria. Satrome is the intel sent by Zest to the Earlsealed Kingdom.